I have for you just kind of a funny moment where Tucker Carlson really aggressively goes against Lindsey Graham, saying anyone running in the Republican Party needs to be the opposite of Lindsey Graham, which in a sense I agree, but for probably the opposite reasons as Tucker Carlson. He thinks Lindsey Graham is too supportive of Ukraine was one of the things he was going against and stuff like that. So let's take a look here.
Oh, right. So does sounding like Lindsey Graham actually work?
So he set up a whole story about how different candidates or a candidate he was railing against supported Ukraine too much, and so does Lindsey Graham, and then he's about to show a clip of that.
Our borders are racist, but Ukraine's borders are sacrosanct. It doesn't work. Here's what he said.
The question is, can we do...
He subtly dropped that in there. To be clear, he's saying that, oh, it's crazy that you're saying Ukraine has, borders that should be respected in their sovereign country and they shouldn't be invaded by the Russian military slaughtering a bunch of its citizens. He's saying that's the same as immigrants coming across the border, as undocumented immigrants. Okay.
Do more? And should we do more? The answer is yes to both. As to my friends in the Pentagon, you told all of us that this war would last 3 or 4 days, that Kyiv would fall, that, the country would be overwhelmed by the Russian military. They were wrong. So, quite frankly, I trust President Zelensky's judgment about what would help him in real time more than anybody else on the planet right now.
Okay, so just to be clear to Republican candidates, that was Lindsey Graham. Your job is to make fun of Lindsey Graham and to disavow Lindsey Graham. Your job is not to emulate Lindsey Graham and steal his talking points.
Okay. So again, Tucker Carlson was doing a segment about, which is just funny to see anyone say that about Lindsey Graham, because I agree. You should run away and disavow Lindsey Graham, but not, again, for the reasons that Tucker Carlson would. But in this segment, Tucker Carlson is explaining how many Republican candidates are not doing very well right now in the races, even though they should have the advantage, or, the Democrat is outperforming the polls, or whatever it is. And the reasons that he cites is pretty much they're not MAGA enough, or whatever it is. And so on an issue like Ukraine, the fact that Lindsey Graham is supportive of the Ukrainian people's effort to keep their country is too moderate or something for Tucker Carlson. But the real reason why they're outperforming the polls, the Democrats are, that is, and why Republicans aren't doing that well is because we sit in a country right now. Well, first of all, the economy is getting better, so that's always going to help the party that's currently in power. And also, we just watched a movement and a party work to put people in the Supreme Court who revoked millions of women's rights. And so that is motivating women to go to the polls at record levels, and hopefully men too. But we're seeing massive turnout among women to protect their own rights or to advocate for the party who would, even though they haven't done enough in the past, in theory, work to protect their rights. And then on top of that, the whole country is witnessing Trump and his movement being just outright against our democratic process. And a recent poll showed that the number one issue on voters' mind is, quote, threats to our democracy. And so people are aware of that, and that matters to them. And that's really great that people are paying attention. So that is why Republican candidates aren't doing well. Him pretending like them being too moderate or not radical enough, these wouldn't be the words he uses, but that would be the type of individual he supports, is the reason, is not true. Because another thing on top of all this that's causing an issue for the Republican Party is they run these really radical candidates that can win primaries, because primary voters in the Republican Party tend to be more radical. Those are the ones who pay attention even in the primaries. So then they nominate these really radical MAGA candidates who don't do very well in the general, right? Because in a primary, you may be very popular, but then that radical of a candidate is not super appealing to the broader public. And we're seeing that hurt them as well. So Tucker Carlson is identifying a true problem for the GOP, which is it's not looking as good as it should for them in the midterms, considering history, considering current conditions, where the opposition party should have a good chance in these midterms, but they actually don't have, at least in the Senate, a good chance of winning. And that is because of the bad candidates that are being run, as well as the list of issues that I just gave you.